Richard Valdez, Part 2.
In the past few years, thanks to cell phone cameras, we've seen some police officers behaving really badly. What do you think is going on? Do you think these are isolated events with bad officers, or do you think there's a systemic problem with law enforcement? So let's start off with, why do you think this is happening?
I don't think it's anything new. I've seen plenty of things when I was growing up. People didn't have access to a video camera, in their pocket. I saw it happen to my brother. I saw it happen to myself, and it was. I remember when it happened to my brother, my mom went to the police department, and they told her, "Well, we're not going to file charges on him." He hadn't done anything. So, but he ran from them, and so they beat him up. And my uncle was there as well. He lived there, so he witnessed the whole thing. And so the remedy for that at the time was, we're not going to press charges on him. Wash our hands. Be on your way. You have your son back. So it's nothing new. It's just that it's being caught on camera.
So do you think it's systemic then, is what you're saying?
I think it is.
And do you think that that now that everyone has a camera, that the officers are now starting to pay better attention to the surroundings when they do things?
Well, no, okay. Looking at it from both sides, I know that when we first got AMBARS, which is a video system which has, the officers have mics that are activated when they turn on the red lights.
Okay.
I noticed, and I didn't have that system in my car, so I really wasn't aware. But we would go to a scene, usually it would be the end of a pursuit or something that was going on, and the officers would make everybody aware that they were mic'd and it was on. So, let's
watch what you do.
Watch what you do. Watch what you say. I think a lot of the systemic problems with police work is fear within the police officers, lack of real world experiences. And I'm not putting them down or the departments down. I just think if you were afraid of a community that you work in, that when you're faced with an event, your fears will probably come up. And so when I see things happening, on videos now, I try to Monday morning quarterback whether I would have done that. And I always kind of think that there's overreaction. I'm not in their shoes. I don't know. All I know is what we see on videos, but a lot of times I tend to think that it was overreaction.
And do you think there's something that departments can do to help that, what's going on, that kind of systemic problem? What would that be?
At the academy level, during training, that they, just like the military, they break you down and then reconstruct you to be
bigger and better.
Yeah, bigger and better, and you're the greatest thing in the world. That badge, that gun, invincibility, thought of invincibility. I think it puts people harm's way, because there are people that they don't really give a shit about all that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that in a 6-month training course that police departments have the time to break you down and build you up and then make you soft and aware. I don't know, and I don't know if they're doing more training now about not behaving that way or just not getting caught behaving that way. But I think we had all seen some things, happen that we all questioned.
If there was one thing you could do, if you had the magic wand and you could change anything in policing, what would that be? You only get one thing, but it's like the genie's here and says your wish is my command. What would you wish for?
I would wish that officers would somehow, with the magic wand, be blessed with an overwhelming sense of empathy. You don't have to agree with what somebody's doing. I think one of the best parts of working with Debbie and we got to work with some great people. Mm-hmm. We really did. Early in my career, there was some really solid people, Brett Schultz and Phil Gonzalez, and then later on with Debbie and Sam Courtney. And these are really solid, do the right thing kind of people. It doesn't really have to change how we do the job, but everybody's got a reason or something going on as to why things are happening. And I think to be able to listen, just to listen to something. You walk up to a car and your intent is to write them a ticket for something. I have a great story and I'm going to share it with you guys. We got a call one day. I was working Highway 1, and people were passing on the shoulder to get off at SoCal. They were driving that shoulder for half a mile. So I thought, well, okay, I'll go sit out there. There was a lot of traffic. So I parked on the shoulder near there's a big turnout just north of the exit. So I parked in there. I wasn't hiding. I parked. And within seconds, I see a car coming. And I could see it, a quarter mile back. As far as I could see, driving on the shoulder, passing everybody. Got one. Good. Guy pulls up. He's got his son with him in the car. And he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, officer. My son broke his arm. Football or soccer or something." His son's sitting there holding his arm. You could see that it's deformed. And the hospital is right there. I said, "Okay, please be careful. Be on your way." Get in my car. 5 seconds later, here comes another car. And so the man and his wife, and she's pregnant. And she's really pregnant. She's got her seat back. She's breathing. I don't really want to deliver the child. I said, "Okay, be on your way." So 5 seconds later, here comes another car. Gosh, maybe it's the wrong exit to sit at because the freeway, right? And the hospital is right there. It's terrible. So it's like 4 o'clock or something. And it's two women. The driver is a woman. She's probably 70 years old, and the passenger is her mother. So I walk up. I said, "What are you doing?" And she says, "Oh, I'm going to get off right here." I said, "No, I'm talking about the driving on the shoulder." I said, What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, you're not going to believe this." I'm thinking, I am. I need to get my mom down to the crow's nest for happy hour. And okay, you know what? Here's where the empathy comes in. Yeah, I understand that. I understand it, right? I'm going to give you a ticket, but I understand it. Okay,
Yeah.
So in the magic wand, I think empathy and I think it can actually be done without the magic wand. I think it doesn't have to be done at the academy, but maybe an ongoing training on making officers aware that just because people don't think like they do doesn't mean that they're wrong or that they're bad, or people have different experiences going on, different things are important to different people.
Well, I've been on. We would often work in tandem, shoulder passing or something like that, and oftentimes we would end up, kind of backing each other up, but not really, because it was entertaining for me to listen to you encounter with these people, because you're writing them the ticket, but they're laughing, you're laughing, and it's like, wow, that doesn't happen to me. Nobody laughs. Nobody's happy when they leave. I mean, they're not happy about getting the ticket, but the encounter they have is often super positive with you.
Yeah, I was thinking about, like, what is a good day for law enforcement? Like when you're in sales, you get record sales for that day, or other professions. What equals a good day? But what really equals? I know what our bad days are. We have a lot of those. But what makes a good day for us? Is it writing a lot of tickets? And to me, it was those positive. It was a negative event that turned out to be a relief. Sometimes I would talk to them way too long.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a positive contact that I was having. I was selling the ticket. I was selling the ticket to them. But it's because I believed in that ticket to the point that I was never going to write a ticket for the sergeant or for my monthly totals. I was just going to write the ticket for people that need them. If I didn't see enough people that month that needed a ticket, I could explain it at the end of the month. It wasn't going to be. I didn't think that my job was just to produce numbers.
Thank you for that.
It's few and far between, and I have to admit there were many times that I had to get, wanted that number. I wanted that 10. I wanted to come in with 10. And, rip off the pages and just kind of sit there gloating and looking at everybody, look at me, and I got 10. And they deserved them. I mean, I was 15 over, unless you had a reason.
Right.
You were getting the ticket. That's just too fast. But I wanted to go back to a time when we happened to be having coffee, I think we were having coffee, and we heard the Sheriff's Department put out a call that there was a shooter at the water department. And that's all we knew. And I was like, well, let's go. We're live oak. Let's go down. So we go in our separate cars, and I think someone else went too. You, me, and I don't know.
Rich Ulrich.
Jason Morgan.
Rich Ulrich.
So we get down there, and it's a shooter situation. Well, there's a new training site. First people that got there, you went in and looked for the shooter. So we got our rifles out and run. And the sheriff's there. Okay, you're going to go with us. It ended up being a murder suicide. So double murder suicide, a domestic kind of thing at the workplace. And it really affected me a lot. I had seen dead bodies in police in crashes and things like that, but I'd never seen an intentional act of one human being killing another. And that's why I wanted to be a highway patrolman, because I really didn't want to deal with those kinds of crimes. But here we were, and that had occurred, and now we're seeing, like you talked about, the worst of humanity. And you shared with me about how that affected you, and would you mind sharing a little bit about that? Because it definitely affected me.
Sure. I remember that the day, and the active shooter training and scenario was all brand new to us. We were all trained as EMTs and as helpers and rescuers. So Debbie and I, along with a couple of sheriffs, were the first ones there, and we were going to enter the water department. And I remember just as we came onto the property, there was a car that was crashed against a pole, and there was a body down, and there was a body in the car that was down. and there were skid marks through this parking lot that were from this car, obviously trying to get away from this person that was chasing them with the gun. And you could just feel the fear and the terror that was going on. We still didn't know what was going on. It was so counterintuitive because we had to walk past these bodies. We all marched in, and I wasn't with you when we broke up into teams, but we systematically went through. There were people running out of the trees, and it was just, and going through the buildings, there's another body. Again, don't stop and help that. Just try to find the shooter. There was no more shooting going on, but still, talking about bad days at work, I don't think that I did anything else that day. It was horrific. It was, I'm glad that Debbie was there, and actually Rich too, because some of the hoorah, guys, you might not have been able to express your emotions about what you had just seen. Fear of, But yeah, that was a hard day.
Yeah, because we kind of do our own kind of, when we're on the road, we do our own, you get calls, but if you don't have any calls, you can pretty much on your own, you can, try to enforce with tickets and things like that. But I think I remember that day, not a whole lot happened after that, and I didn't go out seeking anything else to do because I even though I probably didn't know it at the time, I was really shook up by that. It, like you said, it was counterintuitive to everything. We stop and we help, and not to just go past that. And with the chaos going around us, it was a tough day. And I never really grieved for that day because that was a really tough day. And then when you and I talked about this incident recently, I had to go home and really process it because I hadn't really dealt with it. I hadn't really thought about the horror of that whole situation. And even now, I'm my hands are getting cold. I'm a little shaky, and I know that's PTSD. And I have tools for that. And one of them is talking and being, and now releasing emotions. And I'm sure later on I'll probably sit and cry a little bit about that. But it's important to feel, and I didn't know that for many, many years. And it sounds like you figured that out way before I did.
I think I said before we started taping, I'm really sensitive. I'm not bragging. I think it's bad. I've always, when I was a child, very sensitive, and so. I told you a story one time about my mom, and a girlfriend had broken up with me, and I was crying and all these terrible things, and I was all self-doubt. And my mom stopped me and she said, you were such a wonderful person. It's her loss, it's her loss. And she said, don't change anything about yourself. Just stay true to who you are. Just be your good self. And so I don't know that I was consciously working through these things. I just knew that things like that bothered me. And it was okay if I drove up on the freeway, parked, and cried. That was okay. It was all right. I had some tools, blessed with a rather sharp, quick wit. And so normally, like if I made a stop and somebody was unhappy about the whole thing, I knew that it wasn't about me.
Yeah.
You know, they might be calling me names, and they don't. But it was really, they were upset with themselves that they got caught doing what they were doing, and now they're going to have to pay a ticket and all this stuff. Yeah, I realized that. Sometimes I could talk to them and talk them down and stuff. I think one of the best things that the highway patrol and law enforcement in general has ever done was to hire women, because a lot of times when it's man versus man, it's much easier to pop up my chest and hurl the insults back, and then well, come on over here, and that goes on. Whereas I've seen Debbie and other female officers be able to de-escalate the situation just by explaining, look, I'm writing you a ticket, no big deal. Here's the, if you want to go to court, here's the information, rather than taking it to the next level of, don't you dare say that to me.
Yeah.
Right, yanking them out of the car, which we have seen.
So when I retired, I had a little bit of a struggle of finding myself and my identity without the badge. And I watched you it seemed like you didn't go through that. And now I see, watching the things you put on social media about the painting that you're doing. And it's beautiful art. And I didn't even know, I knew your son was an artist. And I imagine you encouraged that, but I didn't know that you were such an artist.
When I retired, I had been in the office for maybe 2 years because of an injury, and it gave me a little bit of time to decompress from the street, from the badge, from the authority. I realized that the retirement was coming. Like I said earlier, I didn't have that strong 24-hour top mentality. The one thing I knew is that when I retired, and I don't know that this was good, I didn't want to take on any sort of responsibility. I kind of felt maybe an overload of that, throughout my career. And so I started painting. So I took this photograph, and I said, I'm going to try to paint it. If I can recognize that it's that photograph, I'll continue. And if not, I'd always done photography and other things like that. But I was painting for myself. My wife would go to sleep, and I would stay up and paint. And just to say, look what I did. Just to myself. At the time, I would show it to my wife, and she would say, is it a giraffe? Or is it a car? But it didn't bother me. I was really having a good time. And, it's kind of evolved into different mediums now. But it's funny because now if somebody asks me, what do you do? Let's say they don't know that I was a police officer. I'll always say, oh, I paint. And somebody will say, oh, he's a retired highway patrolman. Oh, but now I paint. So I've kind of been able to. I don't have any memorabilia in my house other than the knife that I got when I retired. So that's in my kitchen.
The reason I said thank you for, not following the numbers and just writing what needed to be written is because that's like a peace officer. Remember, we used to have peace officers, and that's community policing. You're talking with people, you're interacting with people, and you're explaining to them what you're doing and why. And, the job can be done with empathy and compassion. And it doesn't have to be so regimented and authoritative.
We, there was a captain here, Christina, and she had gone to a SoCal business luncheon or something. And as the head of the Highway Patrol, they were just bombarding her with, what are you going to do about the traffic in SoCal? And so I told her, I'll handle it. I'll handle it. I might not just write tickets, but I will be there. I'll be visible. I will let people come and approach me and talk to me about it. And I spent probably the last 10 years of my career just dealing with the intersection of SoCal and Porter. I mean, basically that's all I did. And between Debbie and I worked several times together over by the church. We got complaints of violation that was going on. And it was funny. I'll tell you what. Traffic coming westbound, westbound on SoCal. So coming like from Antos into SoCal Village would get backed up, and the parents that would take their kids to Main Street would make a right-hand turn towards right by the white church there in SoCal. But because the slow lane was backed up, because you had to get into that slow lane to go straight, they would come up in the left-hand turn lane and make the right turn from the left lane.
Oh boy.
So Debbie and I, we would be out of our cars, and there was a lot of parking there. We would just wave them over, and we would have 3 or 4 of them stacked up. We could ride as fast as we could. But these weren't tickets just for the numbers. The bicyclists coming down the road there aren't expecting a car to make a right turn from the left-hand turn lane because all the cars that are next to them are stopped. There's plenty of kids in the areas. I mean, these were all really purposeful tickets, right, to address one of the worst congestion problems that we had in the community. So if I went out on a shift and I wrote 20 tickets, it wasn't for the office. It was because 20 tickets needed to be written.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
We were standing there waving them in, stacking them up.
Yeah.
Well, when you talked about compassion, you told me that in Mountain View, did they not, their department, their chief send them, was it Mountain View department?
No. Menlo Park. My mother-in-law does a lot of community work with the city council, and so she's had occasion to meet the police chief and get to know him, and he told her about a course that Stanford was giving in compassion cultivation, and he's sending his officers to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I heard that, and I was like, oh, yeah, everybody should know the departments to their kids. That would be great. And I've been, one of the things I've been mentioning to people is like, well, do you think the academy should be training in emotional survival and compassion? And there's so much going on. They break you down, build you up, and there's no way they're going to be able to do that, I don't think. But after a couple of years, it would be really good to have that and go to this compassion class, whether you just roll your eyes the whole time. At least it's in there.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the sensitivity training, and we've had, and it's a lot of eye rolling, and this is just a waste of time, and I don't even think that half the instructors really believe in what they're saying. They just it's frustrating because they actually might have a good message in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think that police officers are necessarily the most receptive audience for that. Probably snarky remarks, and
everyone's a dirtbag, and all of that.
That was again, I didn't see it happening.
Right. Yeah.
Never saw it happening, but obviously my captain did. And I worked nights a lot longer than a lot of people. They usually will do it just until they can get on a better shift based on seniority, but. When I started dealing with working day shift and dealing with people that were taking their kids to school and going to work and just normal, regular people, Oh, I love day shift.
Yeah.
If I never see another, stinking drunk in the backseat again, that'll be okay.
Yeah.
I had really done my share of
Paid your dues.
the drunk driver stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy that you decided to join us and share your stories with us. And I'm glad that you're still involved in the community that I'm involved with the pickleball plug there, Santa Cruz Pickleball. I'm really, really happy that we're still friends and that we keep in touch because you are really a wonderful human being, and I love you, Richard Valdez.
you know that I love you.
I know you do.
Stay safe, everybody.